You may come with your lens, but won't leave with the same view. You are now listening to Outside the Frame. Welcome, Warhawks. I'm your host, Lanaya Bolden, and I'm excited to be able to be back and chat with y'all on today's topic. In fact, today I have two amazing young ladies who will be our guests today, discussing our last Sipping Tea panel's topic, Moving On Up, where we'll be discussing different transitions, adulting, and growing up. And I think it's a very valid topic. For example, has anyone figured out how to do taxes? Or let's talk about the fact that we're 18, we're legal, but we may not be able to rent a car. Or maybe even the fact that we might still have to call mom for some things, even though we're independent. But we can leave that where it is, because the most important thing is we're not alone. We're doing it together. And I'm going to invite our first amazing student, Miss Kelly Lowman, to discuss that with us today. Kelly, I'm so excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Kelly Lowman. I'm from Pineville, Louisiana. I'm studying biology here at ULM, and I'm involved in just about everything I could get my hands on. I'm in Kappa Delta. I'm on Associate Senate for SGA, on the Campus Activities Board and the Honors Program. Really, just you name it, I'm probably involved.
Wow, that's so interesting. And with our topic on transitions today, I believe you probably have a lot to add to that conversation.
A lot.
So just recalling the panel, is there anything during the conversation that stuck out to you that you want to talk about today?
Well, the panel said a lot of insightful things for me, especially being an incoming freshman and having a lot of mentors on campus. So seeing how older people dealt with their transitions into ULM, a lot of things stood out to me. I think the one thing that I really took away from the conversation was Hannah Edwards' comment on community, and how her community was made all of the difference between her stressors and her comfort, and how her community gave her the confidence to get through her transitions.
That's a really good point, and I love how you said you have a lot of mentors on campus. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, absolutely. I came onto campus knowing approximately 5 people. So really, my first several weeks was just me trying to get to know as many people as I could and find and build my own support system, which I found just about everywhere. Going through formal recruitment, I want to say, was probably the best decisions I made for myself, because I was able to connect with some of the people who are now my best friends and biggest supporters. So especially older people in my sorority, older people in Greek life in general have been the people that I've looked to throughout all of my transitions since I've been here.
That is so good, and I believe that ties perfectly into what you said about Hannah and her comment. I specifically recall that she said that her community helped her to stay present in the moment and just not, just be so crazy about everything. And so having that support system, like you mentioned, I can see that it's really important and helped you in your life as a student.
Absolutely.
I also want to ask you, what transitions have you experienced either by coming to college or during college?
Okay. Simply put, I've experienced just about every change, every transition that I could have experienced. I am from a small town, way smaller than Monroe. So coming to a bigger city and having a large community to find a home in was very, very different for me. And that was the biggest thing. I have 7 siblings. That's a little fun fact about myself. And so I spent a lot of my life with my sisters and with my big family with a lot of support. And the biggest transition was from dependence to independence for me, was living by myself and living in a dorm and not having someone always there to do things with and to depend on and to lean on and to have there for me. So if I had to pinpoint one big transition, it was just a transition to independence.
So what did that look like with your community, and how did they help you to overcome the challenges of transitioning?
Well, I can say that finding my friends on campus and building my community here was a huge priority of mine. And I thank God every day that I made it a priority, because I knew coming in that I'm not the most extroverted person I've ever met. Not to say that I'm not, because I am, but I have struggled with a lot of social anxiety in my life, and overcoming that in a brand new place was difficult for me. And I have been able to acknowledge that, but it was putting myself out there and making friends and finding mentors and really, really getting involved that allowed me to find the community that I have now.
Wow. That really touches my heart when hearing you say that, and I just want to affirm you, because the things that you said about coming from a small family, that's not something I would have known, because all I've seen you is this person who reaches out on campus and branches out and does things, and it's truly like you never know who you're talking to or they're going through. Wow, thank you for that. So, also, since having a community, having support, and building that community of friends where y'all can be there for each other is a value of yours, I can see. Have you ever had to be there for a friend during college while they were going to transition, and what did that look like?
Okay, absolutely. Okay, my best friends, I grew up with him. We went to high school together, and he was one of the, of course, 5 people that I knew coming to campus. He had a very, very different life back home, coming from a single parent household with, all of his siblings were grown and gone, and him coming to ULM, his transition looked almost the complete opposite from mine. He struggled a lot in every different area from me. If I had to say that, he knew a lot more people here already, but his home situation transition coming here just looked very different from mine, and us being able to be there for each other and get each other through the hard days and being there on the good days honestly has been a saving grace for me, but also a saving grace for him.
I bet. I believe he's probably very blessed to have you, and you very blessed to have him as well. I also want to ask you, as a final thought, what is something that you would want to say to encourage students who may not have the support, the community, or the friendships to help them through transitions in difficult times?
I can confidently say that everyone gets nervous. Everyone struggles with at least a little bit of anxiety, and people who know me well, know that I have suffered from anxiety and I've struggled with it for a very, very long time. And coming to a new place, being around new people, it's not easy to put yourself out there, but it's crucial. Like it is absolutely, in my opinion, one of the most vital things about transitioning, about coming to college, being a part of a community, is you have to put yourself out there. And it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be hard. I can promise you that, but it's going to be worth it. And the one thing I would encourage people to do every day is just don't be afraid to say hello. Don't be afraid to make a friend. There is a beautiful, beautiful community of people here, and you can find your person. You can find your system, and you can find community. I promise.
Wow. Thank you so much for your insight, Kelly. I'm so honored to have had you as a guest on our podcast today.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to have been here.
Of course. I just love the comment that she made about reaching out as a student, and I believe that's a vital part of becoming an adult. Something that we truly value at Outside the Frame is expanding your view, and that might include coming out of your comfort zone in order to expand your horizons, and that's something we will all be required to do to grow in this journey into adulthood. And speaking of adulthood, I want to talk about growing up, and I'm going to invite another student, Ariel, to talk about this topic with us today. Welcome, girl. Thank you for being here.
Thank y'all for having me.
Of course. So the first question I want to ask you is what you've experienced in college, how you've expected your adult life to be?
Yes and no.
Oh.
I didn't expect to feel so lonely, because I'm used to being alone, but I'm not used to feeling lonely. But at the same time, when I chose this school, I knew I was going to be alone, because no one from my hometown was coming up here at all except for one person, and we were not friends at all. So, and I don't have family up here, so it's been very hard to, I don't know, kind of differentiate between being alone and lonely.
Yeah. I can understand. And speaking about your hometown and where you're coming from, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, so we can get a bigger picture of you?
Okay, my name is Ariel McGee, and I'm from Franklinton, Louisiana, which is about an hour and a half from New Orleans. It's very small. I'm involved not as much as Kelly, but like in cab. I'm in honors, and I'm on something else. I just forgot the name. Oh, BSU, and I just enjoy being at ULM. I don't have to be involved to enjoy it here. I will say that.
Okay. Thank you for giving us your introduction. For sure. So, you've mentioned about coming from a small town and coming into this place, transitioning, and your adult life being different. What is something that is important for other students to also consider when transitioning into adult life here on campus?
To make wise decisions. One decision can lead to you like throwing off the whole course of your life. Like, I will say, there was one time I was like, man, I don't want to study. And not study, I chose to study, but not studying could have caused me to fail that test, which probably would have led to me like being upset with myself and looking down on myself, which then plays again another role into me making more bad decisions because I'm stuck on the one decision I made. So I will say make wise decisions no matter what it is.
Right. And I love how you said the other unwise decisions came because you were stuck on the one decision that you made. And it reminded me of when Mr. Frederick Lewis on the panel, he was talking about adulthood being this thing that just kind of stretches over the course of your time here and as you go on, but it's about learning and growing and moving. And I want to know your thoughts on that and what you think about what he had to say about the learning process of being an adult.
I enjoyed what he had to say. And I do think that being an adult and becoming an adult is a learning process because not every day will look the same and not every season will be the same. Sometimes you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you're going to have to be alone. Sometimes you're going to have to depend on others. And it just depends what season you're in. So you need to, not focus on the small things, but like look at the bigger picture. Like take a step back and see what is it that I'm actually like doing right now in this particular part of my life.
That's so good. And it just kind of loops back to what we discussed with Kelly earlier about what Hannah said, having people to ground you and to keep you present in the moment. I love that. Also, I want to ask you, do you consider yourself an adult? Why or why not?
Legally, I'm an adult, but I'm not an adult.
Okay.
Like, I think Kelly told me, you can be an adult and be grown, or you can be grown and not be an adult. Which I just feel like I'm an adult, but I'm not grown. Like, while being an adult, you can still depend on people, but I'm still looking for my family to pretty much take care of me. I'm not in that season of my life to be financially like on my own, which is one aspect of being grown. Like you have to pay your own bills. You need to be able to do for yourself, and I'm just not there yet.
I like the vocabulary you use because I've never considered it that way, like being adult versus being grown. Like I'm an adult, but I'm not grown. That's so cool. I'm gonna use that from now on. Thank you both. It reminded me also what Miles said. He said he considers himself an adult when it's convenient.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, do you do that too?
Yes. I'm an adult like when it comes to Thanksgiving and listening to people business. But other than that, please do not call me an adult. That's not me.
I imagine there's some difficulty, there's some tension here with being adult and being not grown, as you would say. And so even though it's difficult, I want to ask, what's the advantage of being here in this learning stage with everything being just, something we have to figure out?
Keyword learning. You get to learn, experience new things. Like, I just think the learning part of this, I think, is something you should cherish. There's something you can learn each and every day about being an adult, because I don't know her name, but it was one of the GAs on the panel. She was like, she said how she came into college knowing nothing about money because she did not have someone to teach her about that. That's something you can learn while in this learning stage, because I don't know anything about money, which is something I should learn.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Key thing is learn to do something.
And the thing I feel that we may struggle with is when we fail to recognize that we have this time to learn, and then it can be overwhelming and stressful, but we have people, we have community, and we're just all figuring it out at the same time. And being that you spoke about finances, and I want to ask you, is there something else in the panel, or it could still be finances, that you wanted to ask? Because we had an opportunity to ask about adulting tips. And so is there a question you wanted to ask or expound on as we finish our conversation on adulting?
Oh my. No. I asked my question. I forgot the question that it was when we did the panel thing. But the man from Trio, he answered it really well.
Wow.
I wish I could remember it.
Yeah. Is there something about adulting that you want the people coming after you, like maybe other people in your town or other students around you, to know?
I will say, coming from my small town, I think we were all used to the labels that we were put into, because I was considered to be smart, but being smart at my school, you didn't really have to do that much to be considered that. So I will say you should break away from the labels that people set on you, because it's very hard to live up to those labels coming into college. I thought I was smart. I didn't have to study. College has taught me, baby, you're gonna need to put some elbow grease when it comes to that schoolwork. It is nothing easy, it's nothing simple. And if you can't apply yourself to it and apply it to what you're learning, it's going to be a hard day at ULM.
Yeah.
I will say that. I had to learn that myself. I think Kelly has taught me a lot about that, though.
That is so sweet. I imagine y'all are friends, good friends.
Pretty much best friends. If you see me, you see her. If you see her, you see me. Most of the time, though.
It just continues to reinforce that community and adulting. And I love what you said about applying, because it ties it back to this theme about adulting and transitioning. It's all about learning. It's about applying, not necessarily the road that you go down, but what you're going to do, what you're going to choose to do. So I thank you so much for that. Thank you for your insight and your addition to this conversation today.
Thank y'all.
Sure. Now, that was a transparent conversation about adulting, if I had ever had one. I'm so grateful that we were able to have them on our podcast today. And speaking of gratitude, I'd also like to take a moment to give thanks to a lot of people that are making this podcast episode happen. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Valerie Fields. Without her, this platform, along with Sippin' Tea, would not be possible. Next, I'd like to thank KEDM radio station, because they are the ones who are providing the equipment, and they're helping us even behind the scenes to make sure that we're producing quality content for you guys. And finally, I'd like to thank the committee, the podcast committee, our co-host Sade as well, and Misen for making all of this happen and supporting us as we continue to launch this program into the future. And without further ado, I'm going to invite the Dr. Valerie Fields to give her insight on the conversation today and tell us her thoughts and what she thinks about moving on up into adulthood. Thank you, Dr. Fields, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Just listening to the young women today talking about adulting and being in these different spaces. I think one of them referred to it as seasons, which is absolutely what you see as you talk about adulting. I guess as I listened to them, it was very interesting to hear them talk about how they have been transitioning on campus from not knowing anyone, sometimes feeling lonely, to being absolutely engaged because they decided to reach out. That is one of those things that I will say comes with adulting, because at some point you have to learn how to network to be able to build that right space for yourself and those individuals that you wish to surround yourself with, to ensure that you are moving in that right place of success. When I thought about adulting, and I did not hear this from any of the students, I thought about the fact that now they're in a space to where they can go to bed when they want to go to bed, they can wake up when they want to wake up, and pretty much manage on their own. So it was interesting that they said, I'm adult in some instances, but in some instances, I'm not an adult,
Right.
And very much so. A lot of students come and I'm grown. Okay. But does that mean that you are really grown? Are you really adulting? Because when it comes down to it, adulting is going to look like absolutely paying bills, being able to manage financially. And that's past academics. When you come to the university, what we're trying to do is provide a space for you to be able to learn, and along with learning your academic side of the house, also being able to commingle to learn how to manage as an adult, because it takes a lot to get there. Some students come with various what I would say portfolios. Some come in and they are already adulting because they do have bills and they're helping to do things at home and they have responsibilities. Some come and they may have children, and so that brings on another component of adulting. Then you have those who come and they are just those students who come and they don't have any responsibilities as such. All they need to do is go to class and make the grades, be prepared to graduate, and be prepared to go and get a job, And so I think sometimes it just depends upon the portfolio that the student brings, what it is that they want to receive on the back end of it. It's interesting enough. We were down at the dining hall one day, and there were a set of girls down there, and I said, "Okay, so what are your plans? I'm here looking for my husband," and so. That brings another component of adulting here, the types of relationships that you build while you're here. Now, somebody may be here in search of that individual, because a lot of relationships have developed, and there have been a lot of marriages that have that are current because of the relationships that they had when they were in college. However, what I would say, those individuals who I do know of who married their college sweethearts, they are also very successful in their field or in their practice. So I want to make sure that in that flight of looking for that special someone, that everyone continues to be academically astute, so that when you do decide to join together, that everybody has their own job and they're able to contribute to the relationship equally, because that's what's going to be most important. And remember, that's really your basic purpose for coming to school as you do your adulting.
Thank you so much for your insight. It's so interesting. All of the things that you said, I may not have even considered before you said them about adulting, but it's true and it's relatable. And I hope that you all find it relatable. I wonder, what did you get? What could you relate to? And what spoke to you the most? In considering all of this, we want you to know that we're here with you in this learning journey, that you have community here, and that it's possible for you to reach out and still be successful as we're still learning what it means to move on up. I'm your host, Lanaya Bolden, and I'm so glad that you were able to tune into this episode of Outside the Frame.